All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another tabletop review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Gerber suspension NXT. This is a budget-friendly multi-tool for those of you that would like to have a multi-tool without, taking out a mortgage to do it. So let's go ahead and take a look at this tool. Just got this in, and let's start with the tools. And I will tell you up front that when you first pull this tool out of the box, I feel like your impression of it's pretty good. You know, when you first see it, you're like, "Woo, hey, this is a great design." Gerber really's got, one hit out of the park, And I think what ended up happening for me is once I started using this tool, some of the problems or some of its shortcomings started to become glaringly obvious. And that's where I think, having a guy who just does a multi-tool demonstration for YouTube is of value, but having somebody who actually takes the tool out and puts it through its paces and actually uses it is even more valuable. So just want to let you guys know that I use this tool, and I'm going to actually break it down and tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's mostly ugly. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's start on this side. We'll start on this side here. And we'll start with the screwdriver. Now on first inspection, this is an awesome design. It looks like an awesome screwdriver, but in actuality, when I was using this screwdriver, I found that this thing cammed out of screws often. I don't know what it is. It's just ground in such a way that it just doesn't grab a hold of screws very well, or at least the screws that I use it with. I did find that when it comes to like wood screws and stuff like that, normal screws that guys would sometimes come across, that it did a good job in that area. That all of the different wood screws or sheet metal type screws, it did a pretty good job on that, and maybe that's what it's designed for. But when it came to actually using it for me at work, and the screws that I'm using it on are computer related, which is hard drive screws, server screws, cage nuts. The tool itself flexes. Stuff like that. I found this to be the worst screwdriver I've ever used. Fits this screw like it's made for it. Fits this screw really well. This is a damaged screw. Great design, great lock, just horrible execution. And then I thought, well, I could get the Gerber bit kit and fix that. But with the Gerber bit kit, I don't know if anybody's ever used the Gerber bit kit. It's been a long time since I've used it, but the problem with it is you slide the adapter onto this shank, and then I've always just had it just fall off, so it doesn't hold the bits very well. So anyway, my opinion of this screwdriver started off as I thought it was an amazing thing, and then it turned out to just be a giant suck fest for me. Now also, another thing about the screwdriver is when you're using it and you're bearing down on screws like this, or actually any of the tools that you use in this manner, all of the tools in this manner, the Reamer, flathead screwdrivers, doesn't matter. Anytime you're bearing down on the tool, the handles flex I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is an insane amount of flex. Why does it flex like this? Because this tool is a piece of crap. That's basically what it boils down to. This is a piece of crap that's kind of dressed up. You know, it's like it's a pig with lipstick on it. I mean, at first glances, this is a really great tool, but you can't have a multi-tool flexing like this. This is garbage. And every tool that you use, it flexes. As a matter of fact, from using this, my handles don't line up anymore. Most of the time, they're cocked over like this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's normally sitting like this all the time. Okay, well, I don't want to beat a dead horse. I know that there are fans of this tool, and if you take into consideration what this tool costs, well then, okay, well maybe this will still work for you or whatever. But moving on, the next tool in the lineup is the Reamer scraper. It doesn't have an eyelet, but I don't know why that's important to so many people. The eyelet thing just doesn't really seem to be really important in real life, but reviewers really take notice when there's no hole. So I'm taking notice of it. There is no hole. So when you're using the Reamer, again, the handles flex, it's unpleasant, but I will say that this is an extraordinary Reamer. This Reamer performs amazingly well, much better than you would think it would. I just can't even believe it, how well this Reamer works. Now, so that's a direct contrast from the Phillips screwdriver to this Reamer. It's really something. So that's a positive side. So let's move on to the next tool. Okay, now here's a tool that's really surprising. Now, a lot of people will criticize this tool for being short. It's a flathead screwdriver on the end, or you know, you can use it for a light duty pry bar, opening up paint cans, that kind of thing. But the file on this thing is surprisingly effective. Again, direct contrast to the screwdriver, this file is amazing. It's actually really good, and I don't care how short it is because of how effective this file is. It really works quite well. There's no side teeth or anything like that, unfortunately. And then the back side of this, I've watched reviews where people are criticizing this for being a crappy ruler. Well, that's because it's not a ruler. You know, I don't know why people think this is a ruler. Just because it's got measurements, you think it's a ruler. This is not a ruler. This is a depth gauge. It works really well at its intended purpose of a depth gauge. Sure, you can use a depth gauge as a ruler. Sure, you could. But this is not a ruler. It would be really stupid to have an inch and a half, you know, a ruler that's an inch and a half long. That doesn't make any sense. And I guess people just didn't consider that it might not be a ruler. So for its intended purpose, works really well. I would have loved to have seen a diamond file on the other side of this instead of a depth gauge, but a depth gauge is actually pretty useful for a lot of people. So, and if you need a multi-tool with a depth gauge, you probably know that's a depth gauge. So, moving on, and I'd also like to mention that the locks on this tool work really well. I got no problems with the locks. Flipping it over to the other side, let's get to the scissors. Here we go. Here we go. Locking in place. Here's the scissors, and you know what? I got nothing bad to say about these scissors. They work better than you would think. No problem at all. I use these to trim up labels for servers for the front and the back. I have to meticulously trim them so they fit onto the face of the server, and I've got no issue with these. They work quite well. Spring tension, comfort, everything about these work real well for their intended purpose. Are they great at cutting paracord? I don't know why that's a test people use in multi-tool reviews. I guess it's something that we can all verify, like we all have a understanding of what cutting paracord's like, but nobody cuts paracord with scissors, do they? I mean, anyway, it might not be the best at cutting paracord. I don't know, because I don't cut paracord with scissors, but maybe that's just me. But for the intended multi-use purposes, I found it to be quite good. As a matter of fact, I broke a nail. Yes, I was at work and I broke my thumbnail. There it is right there. I mean, all the way to the quick, to where it was difficult to get out because it had broke all the way down to where it was super painful. And I took these scissors and I meticulously dug that thumbnail out, and it worked awesome. It worked awesome. A multi-tool that I carry has to have scissors, and these are very good scissors. So, moving on from there. This is a can opener, bottle opener, screwdriver. This is a push type can opener, and I'm sure that it works fine. The only thing that I would maybe kind of say is it's got the screwdriver in the direct path of the can opener. So if you're trying to use this for a can opener, I'm thinking that might hang up on your can and just cause you all kinds of irritation. Now let's go back to an older Gerber tool. This is, one of their older slide mechanisms here. Let's see, what did they used to do? Just curiosity. This is just on the fly. I wasn't planning on doing this, but okay. Here is their old can opener, right? Here is their newer can opener. It's clear to me that their older design would open a can better. This, I'm thinking that screwdriver gets hung up like a big dog. That's what I'm thinking about that. I don't know, because I'm also thinking that if I'm breaking out a multi-tool to open up a can, things have gone really wrong in my life. That's another thing I'm thinking. So let's set that aside for comparison purposes if we need it later. Okay, so the next tool in the lineup on the outside, if I can dig it out of here, is a little bit beefier screwdriver and wire stripper. This wire stripper works pretty well, except that it folds to the wrong direction for the wire stripping, because you're kind of pushing it up against these tools when you're using it. It still works. I tried it. It does work. This beefier screwdriver is really good for me at work. I use this to push in cage nuts. The lock is sufficient on this tool to get that job done because it takes a lot of force to get cage nuts in. But this constant flexing and wiggling around, it really scares the bejesus out of you, So again, I'm pointing out the immense flex. It is just something that is just a deal breaker for me. Okay. Finally, let's get to the blade. Now, normally, I don't like combo blades. I like plain edge blades. I do not like combo blades. But if I were going to have a combo blade, this combo blade is done better than I've ever seen a multi-tool combo blade done. The serrations are very shallow, almost to the point where you could say that this is a straight edge blade. These are not very effective serrations. But they're there nonetheless if you needed a serration. They're all the way at the back of the blade. So for the most part, the part of the blade that you're going to be using the most is a straight edge blade. If you need these serrations, they're there. They do work. They cut through paracord. They cut through rope. They do a good job. This is actually a surprisingly good knife. It's a little bit, short, but for this type of light duty budget tool, I think that this is one of the highlights of the tool is this blade. This blade works really, really well. So, and I'd like to point out it's on the right side of the tool. It opens up and it's on the correct side of the tool as opposed to, is this one on the wrong side of the tool so I can give an explanation, a demonstration? Let me just check this out. It's been a long time since I've carried this. It's been many years since I've carried this. But I used to carry a Gerber like this for a long time. This is exactly what I'm talking about. At least it's not this. See, that is a problem. Let me get into the frame. This is a problem. You are limited on what you can cut, and here your blade is in the correct position. Hopefully you can see that. It's hard for me to look at the camera and see what I'm doing at the same time, but you get the drift. This is wrong. This is correct. Okay. All right. So moving on to the actual body of the multi-tool. This is really just crap. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but at first glance, you take this out of the box and you're like, holy crap, man, for 35 bucks, what a score. But then you start really using this thing, and the tools are all crunched in here constantly. Like when I'm using it, I'm feeling all of this. The way it's designed, the way the handles lock up on the plier head, that does not give me a lot of confidence. It's just a little piece of metal right there with a divot for strength. The pliers themselves operate really good, but I'm going to tell you one thing that I've never seen anybody tell you in a review of this tool, is that when you're using these pliers, they feel good until you actually use these pliers. You go to grab a hold of something. Hold on, let me get this blade back where it goes. And let's pretend like I'm grabbing a hold of this, right? I'm grabbing a hold of this. I want to hold on to this. When I clamp down, this whole handle flexes so much that I find that these pliers don't have any power. They just suck because you can't get enough power. They're too far apart unless you've got, Java hands, I mean, they're just, when you grab a hold of something big, like if I want to choke up on this, for instance, I mean, that's pretty far apart. I always just feel like I can't get any power. Either the handles are flexing like mad, or they're spread too far apart. I mean, at least with a SOG where this happens, like for instance, here's a SOG. With a SOG, same kind of thing. The handles are really far apart, but because of the compound leverage here, I still have tons of power. I could probably, from this position, break the head of this plier if I wanted to. There's just so much power and leverage in this plier. This is basically a tweezer. This is what this is. If I needed to pull out a splinter, I've got enough power in these pliers to pull that out. But there's just so much flex. It's just not good. Crimping, non-existent. This does not have a crimper at all. So if you're looking to crimp something with this, you better call a buddy that's got a different tool. I mean, I guess I just don't want to sit here and badmouth this thing. But anyway, 35 bucks. I don't think this is a good tool for 35 bucks. I think this is a $35 tool that they tricked you into buying. That's how I feel about this tool. I think it's awful. I think this should be an embarrassment for Gerber. This is just terrible, terrible, terrible. I don't like anything about this tool. There's a couple of highlights that are surprising highlights, but overall, this thing, for the main reason a person buys a multi-tool is for the pliers, and this is just awful. Also, the pocket clip works, but this is the flimsiest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and bash this forever. This is my opinion of it. You know, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I just think this thing is terrible. I think you can do better for this price point for a budget multi-tool. I think there's better to be had, and I would not recommend this. I would skip this tool at all costs unless you're just a Gerber fan and you need a budget tool for light, and let me stress, super light duty use. You know, maybe you might want to consider this, but for everybody else out there, even the generic no-name tools like Work Pro, blow this away. Absolutely blow this tool away. So there's my 2 cents. This is made in China, and it's clearly obvious that this is a China-made tool from Gerber. This is an American-made tool from Gerber, and this is clearly made in America, and it's a quality tool. I think you can pick these up used in almost excellent condition for, you know, $20, $30, and I'd rather have this than this any day of the week. So that's my opinion of it. Let me know what you guys think. We'll catch you on the next one on At In. Way more effective file. I'll be down.